Hello, mech fans. This is Duncan Fisher. Hold on firmly to your mana potions, fireballs, and familiars, because you are tuning in to your regularly scheduled episode of the First Circuit Podcast.
Welcome everyone to the First Circuit Podcast, episode number 158. We have our usual hosts today. You should know us by now, but I'm a biter. We have an Ian.
Hello.
We have an old Bob.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about the Annual Rewards program, the new mech pack, the Predator pack, past events and sales, the October patch, and more, along with the new map preview for December. All that and more coming up soon. So first things first, Annual Rewards program, guys.
Yay. Let's catch up with all the things that we've missed. And first off, let's start with the picture, because as always, the picture is beautiful. It highlights the best mech.
Yeah, that's debatable.
It's the crowd's favorite always.
Yeah, it's the crowd's favorite. Yeah, true.
And I mean, look at the beautiful paint job that we're going to be getting, though.
Blue?
Okay, but before we dive too deep into it, annual rewards. You know the drill by now. There are different tiers of rewards depending on what you've done in the past year and how much you've spent in the past year. You can get stuff.
Special mechs and stuff like that.
So as always, there's the active play reward that just gives you a bunch of smaller things, and you get another cupcake, this time with an 8. Yay! If you bought MC, you're gonna get the urban mech. We're gonna touch on the mechs in just a second.
Okay. Here's my rant.
Okay.
Yes, I get a cupcake. Where in the hell is my cupcake? I don't know where it is. It's in my cockpit somewhere on 600 different mechs. I want my cupcake.
I hope if you get delivered a cupcake, it gets delivered to you and not just put in one of your random mechs.
No, it's in one of my random mechs somewhere. Like all my other 7 cupcakes are somewhere on my mechs, someplace on my mech stuff somewhere. Darren, I don't know. Okay. What cupcake is in what mech? What warhorn is in what mech? I need to know. Okay, I'm done.
Yep, but just some simple rewards for playing 100 games. Up next, was it purchase any amount of MC, so you can get the smallest bundle, like for $7, and this will get you the Urban R80, which is quite a special little urban mech, I think it is. We don't know exactly what hard points these mechs have, but this one, at least on Sawyer, says it has a BAP, ECM, snub, small pulse laser, and small laser. So it's at least 3 energy hard points. 4 energy hard points and ECM on an Irby. An ECM Irby, finally.
It's the advanced tech Irby.
It also, according to lore, has improved jump jets or something. I'm not sure. So that would be interesting if you gave it a jump jet quirk or something, or more jump jet capacity, because why not?
Okay.
Though who knows if they'll, like the Grand Dragon should have more ability to twist its torso, and it doesn't. So, yeah.
I guess whatever works for it.
An energy-based Irby with ECM and hopefully a good amount of jump jets. Nothing too special, but I don't think the Irby has had any ECM yet, so it's a new flavor of Irby, which is nice. Yeah. I like flavor. Flavor's good.
The tricky thing is always just fine. You're spending 1.5 tons for IS ECM, but ECM is just so valuable. You're even happy on the Locust with the ECM, even on IS Tech.
Yeah.
So having it on the Irby with kind of good poking profile, it's probably going to be quite tanky. Blah blah blah. It'll be a fine mech.
Moving up a tier, you can, if you've purchased any new player pack, one of the bundles, dropship deals, and so on. So one of the smaller packs, basically. You can get more skill points and the Viper F. Now, the Viper F is a configuration that I'm gonna be playing a lot once I get it, because it's armed with 8 heavy machine guns. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that's always been my favorite kind of Viper to play, just mass machine guns.
Yeah, machine guns are fun, man. There's something about machine guns, it just goes, oh yeah. I love machine guns.
Yeah, big question I have. It's kind of hard. We don't know from Tana, but where are those machine guns mounted? I assume in the arms.
Probably.
I think so, yes.
Because if it's in the arms, you've got 8 machine guns in the arms, and you also have the ballistic side torsos, I think, for another 4. So 12 machine gun Viper,
Really?
That-
It has
that-
12
Who
machine guns?
knows?
isn't it? Like 8 versus plus 4.
I don't know.
Isn't it side torso? There is some like side torso. Oh, it's 1 per side torso or something. Honestly, it's been very little I played like that. I just
Viper ship.
remember you can already do machine gun stuff with it,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and I'm thinking you can do a bit more.
Yeah, you can probably do more, and at this point, the Viper is probably gonna beat out
Yeah,
the
it's
Shadowcat. It's my favorite machine gun
it
mech.
is 2 in each side torso on the Viper C. So if you have ballistic arms, you can have 12 machine gun Viper.
Oh my god. And it takes out the 3 ER medium lasers, right? Just have 12 machine guns?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure where those mediums are mounted. Like one's probably CT, one each side torso. Yeah, plans for
Wow.
symmetry and whatnot. So yeah, you have 1 edgy CT and then 12 machine guns.
12 heavy machine guns. Do you think that'll work out?
Hell yeah, it
Tonnage
will.
is a little tricky, but you could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, 12 heavy machine guns and a CT flamer or something like that.
Like it a lot. All right, stepping up once further, the deluxe reward. If
The
you've
only
purchased,
thing,
oh,
so I just I like with the Irby, it's easy to purchase, but this one I almost never get these little packs anymore. Just at least you have to go back into the archives, and I already have such a large, number of mechs. I don't really have anything to buy. Though if I was just wondering if you had to buy anything to get this reward, what would be the best purchase? Value for money and or cheapest.
That's a good question, actually.
I'm probably gonna say one of the dropship deals.
We always
never
like the
mind.
dropship
Tournament
deals.
supporter packs in there.
Oh, yeah.
That's that's $10
yes.
to get the Viper. That's the
Yeah.
cheapest.
Yes, there we go. Thank you.
Well,
I found my way to get that Viper if I want it.
Well, the dropship deal and the tournament and the tournament supporter pack were the best ones we thought.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think there's sometimes like an Irby bundle where you get a K9 or something like that in the packages, and that's probably the next cheapest.
Yeah.
Also, I think a la carte mechs are fairly cheap, but they are from the really old packs, so they're expensive compared to the newer bundles still.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, more bang for your buck if you get the past 2 dropship deal and the tournament and the tournament supporter packs. More bang for your bucks.
Yeah, if you just want to buy a tournament supporter packs, definitely the way to go out of this.
Yeah.
All right. Now we can step up once further
Yes.
to the deluxe reward. If you have purchased any of the 2021 booster packs, that's the Striker, Warden, Hunter, Predator. That one I'm gonna get because apparently I've been a shill for a couple of months. And that's gonna give you the Atlas K3 in its loyalty version. And this is probably the most interesting out of the bunch.
What is that?
Bida, would you like to walk us through the super special K3 Atlas?
All right. So this is an upgrade to the K2, which isn't even the game. I think we only have K1, but basically XL 400 Atlas with Gorse, ER Larges, a Streak 4, and Jump Jets.
Jump Jet Atlas.
Yeah.
Is it worth to put jump jets in the Atlas, though? I mean,
No.
No.
That doesn't mean that I won't do it.
I don't know, man. That just doesn't. I don't know. For assault
so
mechs, I don't really see jump jets on them.
The hard points are presumably just the same as any other Atlas. Energy arms, the R largest, the ballistic side torso missile on the other side. But yeah, Jump Jet Atlas. I don't know what the hell you could really do with that. That's, jump on top of a building and fire down from above with your MRMs and a heavy Gorse or something. I don't know. LB20, whatever.
I mean, I'll rather have the 2 extra streaks, 2 extra like missile platform things instead of taking 2 of them out and just having jump jets. That's just me.
Well, Bob, that's because you're big and boring.
I know. I'm practical. Basically,
Don't worry, with how things are going,
curse.
Don't worry, with how things are going, this will probably have enough energy hardpoints. If you want energy on your Atlas, don't worry, it will have enough, probably.
Yeah. Seeing all the new mechs, it's gotta have enough energy. And not to forget, if I interpret Sana correctly, it should also come with a Guardian ECM suit.
Ooh, oh yes. Yeah, ECM Jump Jet Atlas.
So like XL400 Alpha's puts that on an Atlas 60 something.
Yeah, there's going to be some really silly XL400 stealth max jump jet Atlases running around at tier 5.
And then you basically do the original chargeable and just have a couple of small lasers.
Yes.
That sounds stupid. I want to play it.
Oh God, heaven help us.
All right, so those are the 3 mechs you can get, and then of
And-
course, if you've qualified for all the other things, you can also get the ultimate reward, which is some
Yes.
extra
So
stuff.
for the Atlas pack, which like if you have to get any of the bundles, because this is only through the new packages, isn't it? The Predator, Hunter,
Yeah.
Warden, and Striker packs. If we were to recommend one, which would it be?
I would 100% say 1, the Warden pack, but that's because I absolutely love the paint job on the Timberwolf and Direwolf and the Elementals.
Yeah, I would have to say that too. All the rest
From a
are okay, but the
pure
Warden's good.
functionality point, I haven't gotten the Hunter pack, and the Predator pack isn't out yet, so obviously we don't have all the info. But I'm gonna say it's probably not gonna be the Striker pack unless you really love those mechs.
Yeah, I think the Warden pack is the clear winner, just in terms of you get an Omni mech, and it's also you get the ECM variants and all the other nice bits
Yeah.
and pieces
Yeah.
that they offer. So
Though, one
yeah.
thing to keep in mind, if you can you even still? Yeah, November 23rd. Oh, what's the cutoff? Is it November 23rd?
So it's the end of next month ish. Well, just a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks into next month.
Yeah, so you still have time to buy things, and in that
Mhm.
sense, the Warden pack doesn't have the pre-order bonus anymore.
Yeah, you miss out on the
So
pre-orders.
it might be a good idea to look at the Hunter and Predator and see if those pre-order bonuses perhaps outweigh your liking for the Warden stuff.
Yeah, it's the hanging items, bolt-ons, and like 200 GSP is the early adopter, and that is quite nice. You can skill up, 2 max with that. And the bolt-ons are often kind of snazzy, but it really you only really care about the bolt-ons if you care about the pack itself, the mechs in that pack, because they can't be used on other Shadow Cats or whatever.
All right, so that's the annual reward program.
Yeah, sorry, because
Yeah.
I kept interrupting you, just which is the best pack to get, and then last is ultimate,
Was also too like
which is
for the if you click what you get, you also like if you did the PTS in 2019 for faction play, you'd also get some extra bonus stuff too. Click the here, basic check here, and then go all the way down. Go all the way down. Yeah, that thing there. So if you
That's all the stuff though.
yeah.
That has nothing to do with the annual reward.
Well, I
program.
didn't pick it, so that's probably what it is.
I didn't either. So I got a pleasant surprise when I checked the page and got some extra debris and stuff.
Yeah.
But yes, there's a helpful link, super helpful, that allows you to just check which pack you are qualified for and which pack you are not qualified for, which is something we were missing in the first few years of the reward program. And I remember that was a giant pain to figure out if you were going to get the
Yes.
stuff or not.
Yeah. Ultimate reward, it's nice, but I'm glad it's not locking a unique new mech behind it or anything, which they sort of did in the past. You have to spend a crazy amount of money to get the ultimate reward. This time, it's GSP, some decals, and whatever. But yeah, I can live without it, and they're not forcing you to buy all the bits and pieces. It's the mechs that are the you just buy in, you opt into each one if you want.
Yeah.
And also keep in mind, most loyalty mechs have become available shortly after they are released, just in the non-loyalty version. So if you want the Jump Jet Atlas, you're probably still going to be able to play it just a few weeks after everyone else who gets it out of the rewards.
That has
Which is
historically been the case, yes.
well, yeah, we have no confirmation, but if they have new variants, it'd be really weird if they didn't put them in the game for everyone else.
Yeah, I'm just trying to with the new Thunderbolt, for example, that's been out for a bit. I don't think it's out. Is it available to everyone at this point? Yes, it is. Okay. Yeah, it should be available for C-bills eventually.
And I mean, keep in mind, with some of the past loyalty mechs, you've been able to get even the loyalty versions of them due to future events and stuff. So if you miss out on them right now, don't feel bad. You'll probably get your chance to pick them up at some point. But hey,
Yeah.
if you want to spend money and support Piranha Games with their MechWarrior Online proceedings, then absolutely feel free to spend more money. They'll appreciate it, I think. Some of them will.
Mm-hmm.
Sure
I'll
they
keep
do.
the lights on till the game for a bit longer.
But yeah, looking forward to next few weeks where we hopefully get some updates on the actual mech loadouts, the mech hardpoints, maybe the mech quirks, hopefully. We'll probably get some more screenshots. And yeah, I hope they look like this because that's a really fancy urban mech.
Yeah, I hope they take some more steps towards doing like what they do for the mech packs. The pre-order bonuses last beyond when mech pack actually comes out, so you have more of a chance to make an informed decision. Whereas right now we have no idea how these mechs will actually be quirked or statted or anything, and you're making a bit of a leap of leap of faith when if you're trying to invest to try and get one of these mechs.
Yep. Okay, so moving on.
Next up, we should cover probably the Predator pack.
Alright, then let me jump over to that particular pack.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Predator Booster Pack, available for pre-order, Bloodsp and Shadowcat.
Oh, it's clans. Never mind. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
Okay, we've lost an old pop. Let me
old-
just kick him out of the Discord call because he can't appreciate things.
Well, what do you think about the camo schemes, Bob?
It's the same camo scheme from the 2018 MechCon for the Blood Asp, just a little bit different. And as far as the Shadow Cat, I don't know what the hell that is, a tiger stripe or something. I mean, it's it's there. It's a clan thing. Clanners will never do that, but that's okay. But yeah,
Or a gamepad that you can put in your mech or something in the extras.
What? A gamepad? Hold on, wait. Oh,
I
that
think it's a
thing?
sitting
Oh
item.
god. Well, I can't find it, so don't worry about it. I don't care about those anymore. I can't find them.
Bob, you're an Innisphere player. You would even use it.
What? I wouldn't.
No self-respecting clanner would have a gamepad in his cockpit.
No, not a clanner. I'm not a clanner, so it doesn't really matter. I'm an Innisphere guy.
See,
So
the pack is clearly marketed towards Innisphere guys.
yeah, when I take it from the cold dead cockpit of a clanner mech, and then I put it in mine saying, "This is my trophy," just like people like take gears. I take gamepad controllers. But okay. Anyways.
Alright, so 2 new clan mechs shipping January 18th, 2022. We've obviously got the Blood Asp and the Shadowcat. The usual thing, you get the special variant and the base variant if you buy the pack of both mechs. And you'll probably have to play all 4 of them, even though 2 of them are going to be sold as soon as the event is over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You also get some Seabolt, some GSP as per usual to outfit the mechs the way you like them. You get some cockpit items, you get the usual decals, titles that we don't care too much about. I think cockpit items we can all agree on they're cool, but not visually outstanding.
I think the other one, the Hunter pack, was a lot better for the cockpit items. It seems like the Innisphere packs are much better as far as cockpit items instead of this stuff. It just doesn't. It's like meh.
Well, to be fair, it makes a lot of sense that the Innisphere cockpit items would be better because Innisphere mechs actually care about the looks of their cockpit. Clans are just like, I want function. Don't distract me from my piloting.
I mean, like, what does a gamepad have to do with Predator? Basically, I mean,
Predator drone. That looks like a drone control pad.
Maybe you have a drone inside your cockpit that flies around or something. That'd be kind of cool. Not a gamepad. As far as the cockpit warhorn thing, what the hell is that? I don't know what that is. That's just a triangle, a pretty looking triangle, and that's it. I mean,
that's clans for you.
I mean,
those mechs are pretty looking metal boxes.
I mean, I don't know. I know.
All right, let's scroll down a bit. Early adapter bonus. Of course, you can get the extra skill points, cockpit item, and bolt-ons. So let's take a quick look at those. If I can find there's the arrow button.
Okay, let me check out the bolt-ons. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
So it's like a spiky boy for the Blood Asp, and it's got a mouth for it.
Shake my head.
With the other golden parts, I do actually kind of like the look of the Blood Asp one. I'd say myself. Though, what do you guys think of the Shadowcat?
Looks like aerodynamic,
I love the
spoiler
Shadowcat
and fins.
Yeah. It wants to become more like a plane.
Yeah.
It wants to become a Shadowcat lab.
Yes.
But
Oh
yeah,
my god.
I absolutely love the Shadowcat. Visually, this is great.
I mean, I like the Shadowcat better than Blood Asp as far as the bolt-ons, but I mean, both are ridiculous. But still, basically the the Shadowcat is much better than Blood Asp.
I sort of personally prefer the Blood Asp a bit more, but because I kind of like this, the Shadowcat not having too many large bits pointing out, changing its outline, because you're kind of wanting to stay low profile. But that's just my instincts as a Shadowcat pilot talking rather than just it aesthetically.
Mm-hmm.
And them being these parts are all very bright white. They don't actually fit the camo scheme, so for me they feel a little out of place. But it's all just personal preference.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. I'm not too impressed. I'm not impressed.
Yeah.
I always like the packs because they're a good um money thing basically as far as like value for money. But I mean, I'm not impressed with the Predator pack.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually
Um,
think I prefer this one over the Innisphere packs. It's more flashy, and I use bolt-ons to be flashy. There's a reason my huntsman has 3 giant flags on his back. I don't like how they look, but they're impressive and flashy.
Mm, okay.
Now, my big thing is thinking about most of these packs is what does it offer gameplay wise? And these are new variants. To go over those, Shadowcat, left arm, you have 2 energy in the left arm. That's more than the 1 energy you could do before. And on top of that, that left arm can also take a lower arm actuator. Before, on the left arm, you could take a variety of 1 energy arms, but only one of them had a lower arm actuator as an option. Now you can take 2 energy in the left arm and have a lower arm actuator. So it's hardpoint inflation along with being much more liberal with when you can actually take a lower arm actuator on the mech. Next up, left torso is 2 ballistic and 2 energy. That is almost pushing out the 3 ballistic left torso. Both of these are basically upgrades to what you could sort of do before. The only thing is still left torso is where you have your ECM usually. And so is 2 energy and 2 ballistic really worth it on the Shadowcat over ECM? Tough to say really, but at least with that left torso and the energy arms, you can actually do an half decent build with it. Energy build with the Shadowcat. And lastly, the right arm is just 1 energy. We see this plenty of times before, but it also is giving you a lower arm actuator. It's one of the only right arms that have a lower arm actuator for the Shadowcat. Shadowcat is incredibly agile, but it's always sort of stuck facing its whole torso at the enemy, often with most builds, like
Mm-hmm.
with PPCs or if you're using missile side torsos and the like. But it really comes to life when you are actually able to use the arms and aim over your shoulder and shoot stuff like that. So yeah, if you do something like 2 large pulse lasers on the Shadowcat, this is quite a nice little upgrade just because you'll be able to have both lower arm actuators and you'll be able to look really far over your shoulder and be much more agile than you were before. If you're the type of person who can use lower arm actuators. But I think for the majority of people, lower arm actuators aren't that interesting and the side torso isn't that interesting. So what you're saying is like, all right, I get the Shadowcat to get 1 more energy in the arm. Woohoo. All right. Up next is the Blood Asp. Right torso is 2 energy. There's no energy in the right torso unless you're getting the hero, and the hero only gives you 1. This means that if you want to do energy boat builds on the Blood Asp, you're better able to do so. You got 3 in the left torso, 2 in the right. You could do a whole bunch of LPLs or PPCs or whatever is better at the time with energy. And the other feature is just the missile arms. 2 missiles in each arm rather than 1 missile in each arm. Again, it's just more hardpoint inflation. I wonder if this just makes it strictly better for the arms. But yeah, otherwise, I think it has nothing unique to it in regards to like the CT. So you're missing out on ECM, you're missing out on jump jets that other variants of the Blaster Asp have. So this one again, like for the most intents and purposes, do you want to energy right torso on the Blood Asp? Do you want more missiles, I guess, on the Blood Asp? Woo, that it's a slightly more hard points, but those hard points don't really change the mechs much at all. It's much more conservative compared to the Warden pack.
Hmm.
Alright, yeah. So for me, like Shadowcat-wise, my favorite Shadowcat is the one with the 6 or 7 ballistic machine guns. So this one would not replace what I'm playing. Polaris, I could see myself playing with the ballistics energy combo. I do like my ATMs. I do like my backup medium lasers. I could see myself playing this, but I'm just not an assault mech player. So in
The
total,
thing
it's
is,
not a pack for me.
yeah, the ballistic energy, your best energy is the left torso. 3 rather than 2. And your ballistic has to go in the right torso then. This only really helps if you're going more pure energy, I think.
Yeah.
Pure energy, like it helps more pure energy builds and more pure missile builds for whatever reason. So yeah, I just think gameplay-wise, this does offer some slightly enticing options, but for the most part, it's nothing much to write home about. And you could just wait. If you just wait, you can buy the Omnipods. You don't have to buy the pack. You don't have to buy entire mechs even, and you'll get these additional options later on.
Yep. So I guess the question would always be, assuming you don't have either Shadowcat nor Bloodisp, is this a pack that you should get into those mech chassis, or should you buy one of the other variants instead?
I think Blood Asp, depending on your preferences, ECM or ECM jump jets, those are just so valuable in the CT that if you're a dedicated Blood Asp pilot, you're usually wanting to go towards one of those variants because that CT is so important. I don't think it's that worth it. For the Shadowcat, then it's only really whether you want to buy it for the Shadowcat things. And I'm like, I feel like you should just sort of save up the MC and buy the hero, because then eventually you'll have all the hardpoint options rather than this, which is, giving you something that will be available for C-bills in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. For me, if I was to recommend the Bloodisp to a new player, I would probably go with the ballistic Bloodisp, just something simple like quad LB10. Whereas this mech is obviously designed to do something completely different, so...
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
don't usually see Blood Asp using its arms or the missiles in the arms. I do use the arms because I put like an LRM 20 in each arm so that you have high mounts and then you can learn the person as well. And people get very confused that you're doing it because you're under ECM. But that's the thing. I'm using it because it's the ECM variant, and I just like sometimes trolling people with LRMs. But
Yeah.
that's more of a troll rather than a serious build.
Yeah, so overall, I don't know. I have a hard time recommending the Predator pack. I don't hate it. I just don't think it's anything special. So I guess it kind of falls in line with the other packs for me.
For me, I think all the packs are still good value for money, but this pack, it's like meh. I could live without it type thing. I mean, it's a clan thing, so
This is the most mediocre one thus far,
yeah.
I would say, in terms of what gameplay it has to offer you.
Yeah, true. Meh.
Even more mediocre than the Striker pack?
Then the Striker, yeah, I mean, Striker gives you a Mask ECM Thunderbolt, and you can't just like buy an Omnipod. An Omnipod's like 100, 200k or whatever. You only have to pay 100, 200. Yeah.
Yeah, with that logic, yep. Okay, I agree. You have convinced me. Alright, and since we're on the topic of packs, the Hunter pack did get released, so we've seen it in game, and on my side, I have not seen it in game at all.
Larch did it. Larch played a Robotech stream basically, and it had all the mechs painted up like Robotech colors, and obviously he used a Phoenix Hawk there.
Yep, I've seen Larch play the Shadowcat, Shadowcat. Oh god, I'm tired. The Phoenix Hawk.
Yeah.
But besides that, I've not seen these mechs in game. What about you guys?
I've seen mostly the Stalker, at least. That's the one that seems to have more longevity. Right now, it's very topside in terms of weight, so you don't really want to run around as a Phoenix Hawk. It's mostly the same Phoenix Hawk experience as before. Whereas, Stalkers have a good peaking profile. It's got decent enough hard points. It's just another Stalker, and so the Stalker is fine.
Yeah.
So with the pack not being released, any further notes on what we said previous about the packs?
Space Ramen. Space Ramen.
Yeah, that again.
Yes.
I said further notes, Bob. We've already talked about the Space Ramen.
I love Space Ramen. Look, it has radios, space ramen, and a glove compared to a gamepad and a triangle porn thingy. I mean, come on. That's much better than the other one.
I think the Stalker 7D is kind of interesting in the sense you can put the larger engine in it, that you have a 350. This is a quote unquote faster Stalker. It can be at least.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is, though, you still have the regular Stalker agility, so you'll handle more like a blimp. That's always the problem with large engine sizes. And, there's 85 tonners with large engine caps that aren't really exactly meta anyway. Like Battlemaster, you can take huge engines in that, but it's not like anyone's using it because you can take a large engine in the Battlemaster. And the same goes for the Stalker. If you're a Stalker, you have a good peaking profile. So just be slow, find a hill, and abuse the hill. And that's still going to be the case even with larger engine ratings. So for the most part, it just means you can put a 325 engine, you go slightly faster, you have one more engine DHS. And that's nice. If you like doing energy stalkers, you have one more. But my personal favorite stalker has always been the 3FB, the one with the ECM. Just if I'm poking a hill, it's so much better with ECM, and I have so much more success with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to be my go-to stalker rather than this, even if it has more energy hard points and a higher engine rating.
Yeah.
Alright, and so that's been the new packs. Should we go over the Halloween stuff next?
Sure.
Since that's one of the smaller topics that we usually just glance over anyway.
Mm-hmm.
See, do we want to do the sale first? I don't have the sale open. There's the sale.
Yeah, the scary good sale. This one is already over, which is why we should skip sort of quickly past it. But yeah, the mech packs are 30% off, which isn't even the usual sort of 50, but yay. And in-game was just the sort of usual, but like 50% off engines is great, 50% off weapons is nice. Got one-shots and cockpits are 50% off, not too bad.
Yep, it was a really good sale. If you're just hearing about it first on this episode, I'm sorry. You missed one of the better sales. And then, 30% more MC, 30% more MC when you gift, extra premium time, and the GSP bundles reduced. It's good stuff, but it's not super outstanding. What I really don't understand about this sale is why it's in phases.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point?
Yeah. The only thing I feel that it sort of was missing is obviously you should have 50% off the Franken pattern.
At least.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Moving on, we should get to the Trick or Treat loot bag event, where you're getting a Hellspawn as the new free mech for this month.
Yeah, these are like I was just gonna say, these are generally Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Halloween's when they normally do the loot bags.
Yes. Yeah, it's what we've seen plenty of times before. I've gotten plenty good rewards already from the loot bag thing. I'm much happier with the pick a prize thing, so to speak. I mean, you're not actually picking a prize, but what they're giving you is way better than just a mech when you've done 250 loot bags. You are getting a mech, but you're also getting 3 colors, a bolt-on, and a Franken pattern for the mech. So yeah, it's a nice haul from the loot bags and the prizes if you play enough.
Yep, and as always, I like getting the mech before the pattern. So you don't have to max out the event to get everything, or you don't have to max out the event to get the mech. You can get the mech reasonably fast, and then if you want to go the extra mile for the extra 10% or so, you can get the pattern on top of that.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a loot bag event. We always like them. I don't think there's anything special in the rewards this time. No bolt-ons. Can get consumables.
There is
GSPs
a
down
bolt-on for the Hellspawn, but yeah, I don't think you get bolt-ons as part of the loot bags.
Yep, I also don't see any decals. There are wear points where we got some random decals out of these. No cockpit items.
There are not as part of the loot bags. There is, like the usual sort of get X amount of damage, get get a victory, get KBDs, get this, that, and the other, and you're getting bonuses. So like there is a decal in the there's phase 1 and 2 has its own little extra things, little bits and pieces that they give you. You can see it in game and redeem it there. So like, oh god, there's one that get one headshot kill. Gives you a decal for a scarecrow and 25 GSP. No, I'm not bothering with that.
Mm.
Or you can grab a friend and go to Solaris, which is legitimate cheating. But yeah, didn't we have one of the first loot packs event where we got cockpit items and decals out of the loot thingies?
Yeah, in the past you used to get a whole bunch of cockpit items.
Yeah, I remember those times.
Hmm.
But yeah, right now it's still more of the more generic basic stuff. But again, GSP, obviously one of the best things to get, I guess, besides MC. So good stuff. Play the game, get stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, the thing with the getting the war horns and things, they were neat, but they're usually the generic simple war horns. It does mean I have enough war horns for all my mechs, but it also meant I got like 20 envious eardrums or whatever it was.
Mhm.
Yeah. But it was nice though, not having to do an
Yep.
alt bob and search for things, just plonk them in and you have 50 more in reserve sitting there.
Hmm. Yeah, I do like as long as there's a war horn or two every single event, you're slowly going to stock up on war horns, and there are through the other rewards, but yeah, you're not getting them through the loot bags, which is negative and a plus, in in different respects.
Alright, Bob, you've been awful quiet. What do you think about the loot packs?
Good. That's it.
Hope
I
says
mean,
good.
they're
All right.
good. I mean, I always like the loot bags and all that kind of stuff. I always
Yeah.
liked
No,
them.
Bida, you're the Hellspawn player here. What do you think about the Hellspawn as a reward?
So yeah, this particular Hellspawn has gotten a unique quirk that it can fire like 5 SRM6s altogether, though you have to, of course, do quite a bit of commitment to actually fit in all the weapons plus the ammo. And you could already do things like 5 SRM4s before. The Hellspawn as a SRM platform isn't necessarily the best idea, just because the Hellspawn up close is always quite a big target, and it's very easy for your opponent to focus down components. If they are smart enough, they can shoot off your left torso or your CT if they so wish. So even though the Hellspawn has gotten much more survival quirks, at least particularly on its vulnerable nose, the Hellspawn isn't really best suited to being a brawler. It's much better suited to being a harasser, and sadly, the quirks they're given for it are kind of don't really actually assist the mech in what it's strong for, and they're just higgledy-piggledy all over the place, just random weapon buffs because they have no clue what to do with it. Yeah, this variant is fine enough, I guess. It's the tricky thing with Hellspawns and missiles as well is just you have so much issues with convergence. The missiles on one arm are so far apart away from your cockpit, and the others are also quite wide. And there's another coming from your side torso and everything else. It's just missiles on the Hellspawn are often an option, but they aren't quirked very well for it, particularly after they just give it random energy quirks. And it's just this one. It's fine. It's a fine Hellspawn, but they've done a kind of piss poor job quirking them, and this one is fine. Whatever.
No, for
Um,
the quirk spider, did the Hellspawn get the Cauldron treatment yet?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is better
Oh.
now, so to speak. There have been some nerfs to the Hellspawn as well while they quirked it, which is really sad that some of my Hellspawns, the playing into the proper Hellspawn playstyle has been nerfed. But it's the Cauldron. They probably haven't even touched the Hellspawn for 200 hours like I have. So you can't really blame them. They probably only played a few matches with it. This one it's fine. The Hellspawn still has it's quite good at torso twisting if you know what you're doing and spreading damage, but they haven't addressed its fundamental survival issues. They happen, at least other than the nose. The side torsos still have the issue of being blown off from the rear, and armor doesn't save you from that. You need structure.
Yeah, what he said.
As far as free mechs go, it's kind of interesting. Thus far, it's always been popular mechs. Warhammer, Hellbringer, whatever. These have just been the most popular, and it's always been energy boats. And it's so weird that they give us a missile boat, a mech that isn't really that great at being a missile boat and hasn't got the quirks for it. But it's still whatever. It's fine. It's the Hellspawn, and I haven't really seen. I have seen a few people running around with the Hellspawn with the SRM loadout, and it's kind of funny. Just like, haha, they're trying to make it SRM still, and it's like. Nope, it's still Hellspawn. It still isn't properly quirked. Whatever.
Is it one of the ECM health spawns or one of the not?
Not ECM.
That always makes it worse on the health spawn.
At least for the harassing playstyle, yeah. I don't know, like it does fine if you kind of ambush a lone boat or something, but that's always the case if you have SRMs and
Yeah.
stuff. Oh, I
Alright, but
forget.
still, free mech
Yeah.
or free mech.
Free mech is fine, and it is at least the one that they've recently quirked poorly.
I don't know. I'm getting certain negative vibes towards the Cauldron from everyone in this group.
Meh.
Yeah, Fred, a piece of advice: if you dislike negativity, stay away from the MechWarrior Online forums. I've made the mistake of diving into those today because I was curious what the people think about the Viridian bug rework that we're going to touch on in a second, and yeah, it's not
I
a
think
good
though,
place.
in the grand scale of things, just to give some context to my complaints, is I'm a big Hellspawn fan because it's a mech that nobody should be playing, and it has some hidden strengths to it, but I don't think anyone would really, it's just leave me alone in my corner. What are you doing?
Yeah,
And
I get it. That's the feeling
yeah.
I would get if someone were to touch my Catapult day one out of nowhere.
hmm
Oh god, now that I've said it, it's probably gonna get nerfed. Yeah.
I think
Okay.
catapults are next up or something, but at least I think the arms will finally stay on if you give them enough armor.
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe the A1 will even get some heat scale limit quirks for my SM6s. Maybe I'll be a big winner after the Catapult quirking. I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see.
they're gonna, but they're like, oh, this thing has two like missile quirks. We need to help its energy quirks.
Yay. Wait, it doesn't have energy? Whatever. Just give it energy
Fine.
quirks anyway.
Yep.
People will find a way.
Right. What's up next?
Yeah, being up to date with the packs and events and stuff, there were two patches that we haven't talked about. At least for this one, not in retrospect, the September patch with the Caustic Valley rework. And the one we haven't talked about at all is the October patch with the Viridian Bog rework. So,
Right.
retrospect
First,
on.
Caustic Valley
Yeah,
is that hardly appears in the queue anyway, and people
yep,
didn't really vote for it in the first place, and now it is the plague.
yep. So, I think one of the best summary I have about this map is one I got just today from the all chat in game, where I was super sad that even with my 16x multiply, I wasn't able to vote for Caustic Valley because no one else wanted to go there. And I asked Ryan that just like, if you want the Caustic Valley experience, just go to center of the map, overheat and shut down, and get killed from all sides, and that's Caustic Valley for you. And yeah, I agree with that summary.
Okay. Yeah, I've already expressed in past podcasts just that it was my favorite map, and what I've seen, it looks very much like it's getting all of that stripped away from it.
Yep.
And it has a lot of issues with maneuverability, with these weird ledges and everything else. And it's just, yep. I I know the old map sort of had things with rotation, but it's nice having, like, it wasn't a bad map in my opinion, and just occasionally having a Caustic Valley experience was fun. But now it's like, oh, I could have Canyon Network or Hot Canyon Network, but crappier. Well, I think I'll just have Canyon Network again. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, so with this particular map, I think they kind of took all the worst parts of the HPG rework and made it even worse. Like, yeah, no one is really NASCARing anymore, but that's because no one is able to NASCAR. As soon as you step out of these tiny spots of cover, you just get blasted from the large laser snipers that have made a sudden resurgence. And it makes me kind of sad because part of the rework is actually really nice. It's not on one of the screenshots, but off the side is a hillside with a kind of tunnel you can go through, and then there are a bit open fields beyond that. I really like that half of the map, but then you step through the tunnel into the center, and it's like, where's my caustic? This is just polar Lurmlands, but in a different biome. I don't know.
It does feel very kind of open at times, like one of the more open maps now. Thankfully, you can't actually see too far. Yeah, It's just, they touched my health board, they touched my caustic at the same time, so obviously that was not a good time.
Yeah. Well, you say that if people can't see that far. And then today I had a match where someone was able to spot a sniper in complete darkness, and he started shooting, and I was like, why are you shooting the wall? And then there popped up a mech over there, and I'm like, how did you see that? But yeah.
Yeah,
It's
some people are really good at spotting distant
yeah.
targets, and I'm
It's
okay with it if I mash different vision modes, but it becomes a bit strainful in my eyes.
But yeah, the Caustic Valley rework, in my opinion, is a complete and utter failure, and I think the community agrees, seen by the fact that no one ever votes for it. I've been trying a lot these past few days to get matches on it. I actually had it appear in the selection a couple of times, but no one voted for it. So all the matches I did have on it were from a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, they were just static, and no one had fun.
Yeah, I wish we didn't feel the need to touch up the better maps in the game, and instead we focused on things like Alpine Peaks. That is also a rare map in the rotation, and that map is one I always save up my multiplier to vote up against, because people like voting for it, but it's a huge open fields, just like Polar lands, but lots of big cliffs and things as well that are awkward for looking up and down with, and it's a real big gear check, that map.
Yeah, Alpine is a proper asymmetrical map where you always have the one defending side high up and the attacking side on the bottom that are kind of forced to attack, because if they don't, they just get sniped to death.
Yeah.
And it's interesting in the sense that it's unique. I think Alpine is one of the very few proper asymmetrical maps in a game. I just don't think it does a particularly good job at it, because the attacking vectors are always a bit weird, and it tends to split you up. But yeah, for some
I
reason
think
people
it's
like it.
yeah. I think it is indeed it is something different, and I do like that it's actually an asymmetrical map. I mean, most are sort of a bit asymmetrical, but it's truly asymmetrical. The only thing I think is just that I don't want all the maps to be exactly the same, but
Yes.
I also don't want them to be too different. There's a certain amount of variety,
Yes.
and Alpine brings such a different gameplay experience that's really hard to prepare for, that it feels awful when you get it and you aren't in the right mech for it. But taking things like Caustic, and it had its own play style, and shredding it and putting it into the generic pile, but making it worse than the others is just tragic.
Yeah, especially since it's no longer even visually all that distinctive. Like, sure, you still have the smog and the sulfur-based stuff, but it kind of just looks like a reskinned Viridian Bog now, only worse and more open.
Mhm.
And yeah, I could probably go on for forever, but just quick summary: I absolutely hate the Caustic rework. No one's playing it for a good reason. And if PGI ever reverts anything, I hope they revert this map, but I'm not getting my hopes up.
Just restore the old one. That would be the easiest
Yeah.
thing to do.
I mean, put the old one back in rotation, lift the new one in,
Mhm.
and then they will see that no one likes the new one, and people prefer the old one.
Yeah,
I don't
because
know.
I have that same kind of feeling. It was neat having the old Forest Colony and whatnot back, but I think people usually try and avoid voting for them now, those smaller maps, because you just feel everyone's
Well,
so
let
constricted.
me tell you a couple experiences I had today where people voted for the classic maps. You know why? Because the alternatives were Viridian Bog and Caustic Valley.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is getting. Yeah, if you degrade maps like Caustic Valley, it's not your savior anymore. You have to go with the classics. No.
And I
For me,
said
I
as
would
a
go for
someone who
Bog.
likes the classics.
Yeah, for me, I would say of those four, I would go for Bog nowadays.
Alright,
It's
do we
still at
want
least got the big feature. It's the closest to Caustic I've got now. The old proper
to...
Caustic. It's still not real, but it's one can dream.
So do we want to switch over to the Viridian Bog rework? Unless, Bob, you have anything to add on the Caustic?
Meh. I mean, yeah. I mean, I never got a chance to play it, so I can't really tell you, like, from that. I mean, I think it's good they're doing changes. The change is always good for a game that's static, or not static, but oh god, I can't even think of the word. That's just
Stagnating.
yeah, stagnating. Change is always good, and so I mean, it might be some people like it, some people hate it, but at least they're doing something, instead of not doing anything. So,
Yeah.
like I
I
said,
think
meh, I haven't played it
it's
yet, so whatever.
it's really good when they rework Polar because that was
Yeah,
such a radically
Yeah.
different experience from most other maps.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I feel like the next priority on that list is then Alpine. You get those two huge kinks out of the way, and you need to just tidy up things a bit like Canyon. I don't mind the Canyon too much, but yeah, like in fact, the bog rework is mostly just a little bit of a tidying up the map. We didn't rebuild the entire map and how
Yep.
it plays. And I'm fine with that. All you're doing is you're getting rid of some of the kinks. And that's great, as long as you aren't taking perfectly functional maps and then putting them in a blender.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah,
So
so bog.
yeah, on the visuals, I've switched over to a beautiful GIF that I wish I would have found for the other maps of the changes to Vividian Bog. And I'll be honest, I played Vividian Bog today, and I was like, is the rework in? Did they change anything? It looks exactly the same. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, the biggest thing of all is just, there's two hills, and one team has ramps to both hills, whereas the other team can only reach one of the hills. Like, and the other side, they just have a sheer cliff face. And that meant the map always sort of forced one team to take one hill, and the other team could take both. And the team that could take both always sort of had a bit more of a, tactical advantage, so to speak, or at least they had more options for where they could go. And the biggest change I've noticed is just, you've added a ramp to um, the one hill. So it's got both hills have ramps on both sides now.
Yeah.
And I like that you have more options on one side. The tricky thing is though, just the ramp on the new ramp is like it's up against the side of the map, so you really have to go out your way to get there, and there's a huge gap between the two hills. Whereas on the other side, the two ramps are much closer. And so, going from one ramp to the other is a much shorter journey. So the team that was at a disadvantage still is at a bit of a disadvantage, but you aren't stuck going to just one hill. You all aren't hugging across one hill. You could go to two now. And that's an improvement. That's a kink slightly ironed out, but the map still is asymmetric and still favors one side somewhat.
And then the second, well, I wouldn't call it major, but the one of the more significant changes was obviously, as you can see on the visuals, opening up the, let's call it downstairs area down in the swamp under the flower cover. That part's no more open, and if you want to fight down there, you actually have the option to fight down there. I went there today for a domination, not domination, what's the resource gathering
Conquest?
thing? Conquest, thank you very much. And yeah, it's fine. I don't mind
Yeah.
a bit of bug rework.
Yeah, I think the downstairs area with the lily pads above, they offer visual blockage, but they don't. But they don't actually stop you just from pressing R and shooting,
Yes.
easily. It's much easier to sort of shoot down than shoot up. It sort of feels, just
Yep.
generally from my experience. So if you're down below, your sight lines are really, really bad, and there's a lot of open. You're actually quite in the open down there, and you obviously can't just jump down to catch anyone out. You're in a bad position down there. So it still feels like a worse part of the map, but yeah, it is a lot less terrible than it used to be. So yeah, that was a wrinkle with the map, and that has been slightly ironed out. This is the kind of changes I like.
Yeah. So so as a summary of the whole map reworks, we've had the canyon rework, which was, I think that was fine. Everyone got used to it pretty fast. There wasn't anything major. We've had the HPG rework, which in my opinion is bad, but at least it's something I'll get used to. We've had the catastrophic caustic rework, and we've had a totally fine bug rework. Would you agree,
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah, more or less. It's a bit of a mixed bag, but there's plenty of good ones in there as well.
Yeah. So one trend that's definitely noticeable though is the whole making maps more samey, as can be seen most clearly, I think, with the caustic rework,
Mhm.
where like for the map design, we've talked about this on the past episodes, but it feels like they have this one directive for how maps should look after their rework, and that's just like the Viridian Bog or the new caustic, and like open with splattered cover everywhere there, but encouraging a very static playstyle. And
They're
same
trying
with
to
HPG, where it's very
yeah.
static. You go in, you have your spot, and if you step out to one of the sides of your cover, you're gonna get blasted.
They're trying to stop the NASCAR basically, which makes sense. And so they changed it from
Yeah,
NASCAR to Sniperville, basically.
yeah, they changed it from NASCAR to everyone just hides in cover, and
Yeah.
if you try to do something, you get blasted.
Um, his analogy, at least in my head, that sort of pops up. Like, have you ever seen sort of like these kind of paintball shooting ranges, like where
Oh yeah.
people it's just a mess of random barrels and cover and bits and bobs.
Well, there's
There's
there's speedball, and then there's normal
yeah.
games. Basically, speedball is what you're talking about. They have a bunch of different blow up triangles and shapes and barrels and stuff like that. That's called
Yeah.
speedball. But yeah.
It's like a real jungle gym, just a huge mix of random items that give various different degrees of cover from various angles, and people dart from cover to cover, and it's a it's gives for quite sort of an exciting game of its own kind of accord. But obviously, if you make all the maps like that, you will start getting an issue of sameness. I think. The old map design, often we would get very much fixated around a big central hill, and people rotate around that hill. So like Canyon Network before, we had that central, hill that everybody ran around and did the big NASCAR, and that was sort of an issue with the map. And I think they ironed it out. And in overall, that's why I kind of prefer the map now. Um, the thing is, I felt of all the big central hill maps, what was it, like Grimplexus and like Caustic Valley, actually were not too bad. You had what felt like a more natural sort of, geographical feature, a big mountain or a big hill, but you still had plenty of options and plenty of pieces of cover. But it wasn't just a jungle gym full of random items strewn over the place. And that's why it's just so sad to see Caustic Valley sort of turned into a jungle gym.
Awkward silence. Yeah.
Well, that's what you get when everyone agrees with each other, and we've kind of said our piece, and we don't have more conversation to add.
Change good.
Yeah, I think it's like they have an idea of what they want to push things towards, which is yes, indeed, this sort of random items strewn across the place, and that does have a place as a map. I don't think it's a bad map design. I just think obviously what they my advice would be, obviously when people are choosing maps, you want to give them different choices for different experiences. So hey, do you want various different options of where you can go, and it's mostly a flat plane? Hey, do you want various options where you can go, but it's a big hill in the center, like Caustic Valley? Hey, what was it? Crimson Strait. That one has an up an area and downstairs area and various different tunnels and ways to get around. Like, it's just every map should sort of have a purpose and a game style. They're all a little bit, you should always be able in quick play to take those any mech and play on any of those maps. But the idea is they all should have different features. Was it Rubelite Oasis? I really love Rubelite Oasis. It's not screwed with random items like just a flat plane and let's just throw barrels everywhere like what we see with a lot of the new maps. But it has a unique play style. But if you can take any build into it and it will work. And so that's what I want to see more variety like that, not just adding random barrels. Now, the tricky thing I think with at least to sort of try and speak for Francois a little bit, though, this is just my guess, is that Francois only has so many tools. Like he's not the one actually making all the assets. He's just moving things around, making do with the tools that are already available. So it's quite easy if you have a barrel model to just throw in more barrels into a map. It's quite difficult to radically redesign maps with a grander design ethos. But I still think, just big land features like hills and things like that shouldn't be misforgotten or not just be a simple part of the mishmash.
Yeah. And I think this is the main point that makes HPG acceptable and Caustic just unacceptable. With HPG, they at least kept the downstairs basement, which was that map's defining feature. And with Caustic, they just took the defining feature, which was the caldera, and poof, it exploded.
With HPG, it's like what before happened, like there was a central feature, that big tower that everyone ran around, and there was a basement, but you shouldn't go in the basement. Right now, you can run to that central kind of tower or mix-max complex, and enemies will be there, and you can engage them up close. You just always have to be careful about the snipers. So like it's de-emphasized the central complex, but the central complex is still there, and you can still do things. There's still a basement there. There's still up close quarters engagements you can have there. But if you have a long range build, you have a much better access to those sniping positions now. So you've de-emphasized the central area, but you and added extra emphasis to the sniping. But that was HBG's identity before, and I do like that it isn't just a complete mosh pit. That it does feel different from the other maps that have already been reworked, like Canyon and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I feel like it's just Caustic is the one that really sort of seems to feel flat. Is
There's
that
also one more thing with what you just mentioned about HPG in particular that also applies to Caustic. If you give too many options that are all equal, the team is just going to be split up super hard. And that's something I've seen on HPG in particular, but also Caustic looks like it would probably invite it quite well, where people just go to whatever is the closest for them that supplies A, cover, and B, a position they can shoot out of. And then they have a hard time moving away from that. So we have these small groups of isolated mechs rather than the natural, like, this is one defining feature, here's your path that you run around. And even if the running is bad, at least your team is running together as a team. Whereas now we
Yeah.
have these small groups of mechs sniping from different positions, which makes coordination harder.
it's much harder to coordinate with the pugs nowadays, just because there's so many angles they can take, and also so many angles the enemies can take against them. Even if I'm trying to poke and push an angle, it's just with random barrels spread around, you can't make sure that there's not an enemy behind one of those barrels whenever you're poking. And it's just an utter nuisance. Every time you can expose to like 5 or 6 different angles on these new maps.
Yep.
And that means if you have the superior poking build, you can win. But it also just makes it really hard sometimes to turn around an entire battle by yourself, because you're trying. In the past, when you had these more simplistic map design, you could pick just the right perfect angle, and no one could choose a counter to you. Whereas now there's one, the perfect counter is just one barrel away. And yeah, I'm struggling a little bit, but I'm still getting quite some good success on these new maps. But yeah, it's harder to really excel and to really coordinate with your team nowadays.
All right, and since we've been talking so much about maps, shall we skip ahead a bit and talk about the preview of the map we are going to get in December?
Mhm.
Sure.
I think a lot of people are going to be quite excited about that. They're working on getting the tile set from one of the faction play maps into a completely new quick play map. And we've gotten a nice screenshot posted by Sean Lang, which looks very interesting. So if you want to see the screenshot, links are going to be in the description. Or if you're on YouTube, you can just full screen, and hopefully Bob is showing it to you right now.
Yeah. I used to play this in faction warplay about 4 or 5 years ago, and it's pretty interesting. It had a couple corridors coming through. So if you protect the corridors like in faction play, I don't know how the map's going to look like when it comes out, though. But it was fun. It was fun playing this one. Just with centralized location like that and everything, and it's all right. It's not bad.
Yeah,
So-
obviously we're not going to get anything from the original map besides the looks.
No. Yeah.
The terrain and stuff is going to be completely new. This map looks like it's going to be centered around a large structure that's visually quite similar to the HPG structure, with a lot of mountains around of it that allow you to circle the main structure. Oh god, I've said the circle word. Oh no, I'll shut up.
That's the thing, though, is I'm not sure actually where we're looking at, and that's always a difficult thing of just this could be a spawn point or right next to the spawn, in which case it's just
Just there.
visual
Yeah.
clutter. Yeah. From the one screenshot we've got, sort of on the left-hand side of the screenshot on the top, there's a lot of verticality, like sheer cliff faces with tiny ledges on them, which are great if you have jump jets. Though not so great because jump jets always take a while to actually climb up, and you're quite an easy target whilst you're doing so. And once you're up on those spots, it's easy to fall down. Blah blah blah. It's just there's a huge amount of verticality, and just like if you're a ground pounder, it looks like hell navigating that map. So yeah, there's plenty of chance for it to change, and I don't even know where I'm looking. So we'll have to wait and see. And same things like my thoughts on the structure. The structure is cool, but the tricky thing is large, long sight lines to the structure, and the structure is quite open. So it isn't a great place to necessarily fight from or fight around. It'll certainly play a part. Like, you'll be safe from LRMs there, but uh, yeah, it's really hard to tell always with MWO how good a map will be until you actually sit down and play it. Or like the best thing I do is I land where you're supposed to land in spawn, and you just try and run towards the center, and that will give you an impression of how how things will develop. And right now, a screenshot and stuff is really hard to tell. I'm just worried that there's way too much verticality and way too much open plains.
Yeah, actually, right about that though. Like in the faction play on the tiles, if you're looking towards it, like from the right side, on the left hand side, there's like a little valley that you could hide behind. There's a bunch of different cliffs and stuff like that. But I don't know about jump jets getting on top of those cliffs. It's more just places you could hide from. That's about all I remember from it, because I haven't played it for like 4 or 5 years. But
yeah, the thing is, these just your like with Grim Plexus, it plays radically different from the other Grim map that's in Faction Warfare. So yeah, it really depends on how the map is set out, where people spawn, etc., etc. I do like these pink crystals. Like, those could be some interesting visual cover. They're very bright in these
don't know what those
screenshots.
are. I have no clue what those are. I don't think they're in the original thing, but who knows?
I mean, they're pink crystals.
Yeah,
for me, assuming what we're looking at right now is gonna be the center of the map, the sort of defining feature. I do like the visual style, and I do like the idea of having this multi-level, very industrial-looking structure. I think that's something that's gonna be a standout compared to the maps. We don't have anything that's really close to this so far. But yeah, I'm as worried as Bite about the very open lines, and like the structure looks great. But as the screenshot is laid out right now, I don't think anyone is willingly going to use that structure because, snipers from the sides are just going to pick you apart while you approach.
I think Rubelite is the closest in my head, because that's the map that did verticality right and big structure complexes right. Just in the sense, both teams have their own base camp. They have their own big structure, and you can go down or below. And that gives, there's still plenty of cover and angles and places to go. And that would be the map I would reference in comparison when this map actually comes out, to try and say, all right, how do you compare to Rubelite? Because that one did two big structures and it did it really well. That's a really different map, and it did it well. What does this structure add? What does this map add in terms of verticality and all this, that, and the other? What does it actually do? I don't know. We only have a screenshot.
Yep. One thing I'm gonna say though, this map looks like it would be a great Solaris map. I know.
If your opponent gets jump jets and just keeps jumping on top of things, and you have to go, oh, I have to back up, and I'm trying to use small pulse lasers. Please just stay close. Oh, no, he's run behind the hill.
Yeah, but in an actual like lore setting where you could research your opponent and what kind of mech he plays, this would be a great base for I think for Solaris tabletop or Battletech role playing game kind of map.
Yeah, it almost looks like a tabletop map turned into an MWO map.
I like it.
And I will say, I do actually like using jump jets in Solaris because people aren't expecting it. So, like, I used the Spider Hero, and so I would slowly streak 6 people to death with its CT missile, because I could just go to high spots and jump from high spot to high spot. And the enemies, of course, they got torso mounts, and they just can't shoot at this tiny little spider that's running all over the place. It's a fun play style, but obviously in 12v12, it's really hard to keep that up with so many guns, able to be trained on you.
All right, then moving on a bit, we've talked about the map review. One final topic we have for the MechWarrior Online section today is, of course, the patch that with which tab I have closed, the October patch. We've talked about the map rework, but we haven't really talked about the content of the pack. Of course, we got the what's it called, Hunter pack, right? Phoenix Hawk and Stalker.
Yes. Yep, we've done that.
And
so go down to ATM changes. That's the first new one.
Yeah. So
right,
we've got Yep, I don't
Yeah,
got it.
ATMs, the DPS is a bit down, at least up close. The fundamental issue, of course, with their changes was that ATMs were always quite starved with ammo. Even if you increase the long range damage, the long range damage still sucks in regards to ammo per ton. Increasing the DPS by improving the cooldown is a way to make the close range performance improve, but the fundamental thing they still haven't addressed is the ammo. And, this is fine. It helps ATMs. They did get a bit too much of a nerf because they didn't address the ammo issue, but they really should just address the ammo issue.
Yep.
Yeah,
Ammo
I think
rams.
there's so many little bits and pieces, this is a question, but like ECM change sadly got reverted. I did like the ECM change for the most part, but it just didn't go through properly. Your baseline ECM, I think, was still just the regular 30% or something like that. In any case, I think it's been reverted.
Yeah, it's been reverted because there was a bug with the way they implemented it, and they've rolled it back until they have the resources to properly figure out what's been going on with the ECM.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds to me like we're going to get the ECM change just at a later time when they can fix it.
Yep. Mask Mark 1, they fiddle around a bit more with that because it doesn't have the longer duration that you can use it. So I think they've made it so you can use it longer more, but it doesn't give you so much of a boost.
Yeah, Mask Mark 1 is the one for light mix, right?
Yeah, so it's going to be the flea mostly only.
Right, then Make Agility, the Griffin got slightly changed. I don't know. I don't play Griffins, honestly.
Yeah, I forget. I have the patch notes, so I have to go searching through. But yeah, the Griffins had slightly different agility for the two different types. Like the 2N, I think, was a little less agile than the rest, as far as I remember. And they just normalized it, in which for the most part I sort of agree with, that we don't need. Yeah, there were 3 agility types before. The heroes, the 1N and 2 and 1S, and then the 2N, 3M, 5M, and it's just they're all quite kind of samey. And I think this is bringing them all up to the same level.
Yep.
Yeah, they're being normalized to a new higher level, which is good because I think the Griffin is supposed to be sort of more the brawly one. At least it sort of feels it, or at least it's lagging behind the Wolverine a bit. And yeah, it always felt so sluggish in most of the Griffins, and it felt really weird since a lot of Griffins hardly even used. It's mostly just the 2N.
To be fair, the Griffin's always been a weird mech with the completely white-sided thing. You blow up the white torso and it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
In Battletech at least. Not so much MechWarrior Online, but yeah. Small adjustments to Griffin. The Thunderbolt 5SS gets a bigger mech engine. They have adjusted some of the quirks from the previous patches, which, we haven't been going over the quirks in detail. So,
Yeah.
in that sense, are there any standout you guys have spotted that looks interesting?
I must admit, I always just glaze over. It's just like I'm not really playing the game too much anyway, and a
Warhammer?
lot of these don't fit my playstyle.
Probably just for me, the Warhammer.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
I did have a debate sort of actually about the Warhammer, because I said just one thing to note was like in terms of design philosophy, at least I feel like the Warhammer, it's got some survival buffs, but for the most part it's actually a really good mech just in terms of hard points and shape, and therefore it's kind of what you feel like should be the baseline for mechs quirk wise, and therefore it's not a mech that you want to see too quirked because that's just part of power creep. Now it should get quirks, and I said, Warhammer, was it 6R, for example, the one with super ballistic, a bunch of energy and a missile. I said, that mech is pretty good. You could do so many interesting builds of it. It is lagging a bit behind. It does need help. 10% cooldown is fine, but I feel like the missile hardpoint is like never used, and at least usually as far as how we quirk things, we usually try and quirk the hardpoints that are really lagging behind. And for the 6R, in other Warhammers, I said, where's the missile quirks? For these, like, we don't really need the 10% streak cooldown. That's a bit silly. You just need some proper, missile quirks for those missile hardpoints, because the Warhammer is almost never seen with missiles. I think there's even a missile variant, and that as well is just so underwhelming as a missile mech.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, the best build for the Warhammer is the LB40. or AC40, depending on your taste.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
like that
stuff
one.
like that. 2 heavy gorse kind of things, and yeah. And you can also do like 2 light gorse and ERPPCs for snipey snipe.
Ew.
I have to mention it, but yeah, I think 60 as well, like double the survival. That's pretty neat. 40%
Mm.
overheat as well, by the way. It's one of the heavier mechs that have actually gotten it. It's an energy boat one as well.
Mhm.
The idea, it's a bit weird with overheat quirks because we're only initially putting them in with smaller mechs because they take the same damage and it's not normalized to their tonnage. So a 20 tonner takes the same overheat damage as an Atlas, which is silly. So obviously we give the 20 tonner some slack. But this, if you put on a heavier mech, it's like, yeah, please push the limits on your overheat on this mech.
Yeah, it's interesting because on the one hand, you never really want to go into overheat damage if you can avoid it because it's still damage. But on the other hand, being somewhat encouraged to go into it, interesting quirk. I
Yeah.
don't hate it.
I don't mind it actually. In the end, like I feel like the overheat mechanic is always so binary. It's either your mech is totally fine or oh god, it's blowing up.
Yep.
And that extremely binary state is not really the best. At least it's not very forgiving for less skilled players. If you're skilled enough, you don't have this problem anyway. You just take 2 cool shots or whatever. You just take the right build,
Yeah.
you just play properly, etc.
No potions.
Um, so honestly, I feel just like, if you just reduce the amount of overheat damage, just change that file number first, it'll just make the game a lot less, punishing and just more forgiving to, less skilled players. And that would be all you need to do. But yeah,
Uh,
this is an interesting quirk. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
I am curious though on the Black Widow, they have a bunch of different ones that actually aren't part of the weapon systems normally of the Black Widow. The
Mhm.
the ACs and the LBX, those are normally part of the weapon system, but they have quirks for them. Especially for that kind of stuff. I'm just like, that's interesting. Why would they have that? But
Well, goes back to my point. The best Warhammer build is LB40.
I know, but it's just kind of weird though. They would implement that for none of the weapon systems that normally come out for the Black Widow, or what she used. So that's what I'm curious about.
So like my thoughts on the Black Widow, at least when I gave my little bit of feedback, was I think the machine gun quirk's a great idea just because
Yeah.
4 machine guns on it is not really worth it, but there is kind of the lore loadout. And
Mm-hmm.
so having it just, actually be half decent is well worth it. Though if you're gonna take the machine gun loadout, you really need a decent energy loadout, and the Black Widow has always been underwhelming for its energy component. Um, and I said, therefore, I don't really want to actually give it ballistic quirks, particularly a list of various little bits and pieces of ballistic quirks. It just adds a lot of clutter. I personally, instead, I said I would give it some energy quirks, just so the energy is a better complement for the DACA.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like just energy range, so that your energy can, if you take regular medium lasers, they can work with the LP10s a little better at range. ER mediums can work with AC2s or whatever. I would just be interested in that. But as it is, we got a slew of random, lots of little bits and pieces for the weaponry. Yeah, it's really weird. Like, what is it? Standard AC cooldown and velocity. So the standard ACs, I never really used it with standard ACs. Like, it's more 3 LB10 or 2 LB20s type thing.
Mm-hmm.
4 AC2s, I sometimes use it for. But in the end, don't worry too much about most of these changes. The huge thing to remember is we're talking about 10% changes. Those are it's significant when you're actually doing it at the time, but it's not something you need to really pay big attention to. It doesn't change radically the game. It just means, hey, if you got ACs on this mech, it just happens to fire 10% faster. That's nice, but yeah, just don't think too heavily about it.
All right, and with the don't think too heavily about changes, I have one quirk that actually really stood out to me, and for that I'm going to scroll all the way back up to the Raven 3L. Added a stock 100-meter seismic sensor. Comes stock. This is really cool. I think
Yep.
that's the first time we've ever seen this particular quirk, and it complements the Raven's lore. The Raven is a scout mech. It really helps the Raven because seismic sensor for light mechs, especially light mechs that are kind of like the 3L, which is often played with ECM, large lasers. You kind of need to be aware of your surroundings, and having that extra seismic sensor for free as soon as you buy the mech really helps. And I very much like this quirk, and I hope we're going to see this on more light mechs in particular.
How do you feel about? I also think the UAV stuff fits with the scouting role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very lore appropriate for the mech. and it's the first time we're sort of seeing them, and it is a good way to help give lights more power in the game, so to speak, or more ability to do their role without just giving them more DPS, because it's
Yep.
just they only have so many guns anyway, and until you can only soup up their combat power so much before they just become untouchable
Yeah.
gods of DPS.
Yeah, you don't want to really buff the combat capability, especially with the Raymond 3L, which has already been super annoying, more than really powerful. And yeah, I would very much like to see this, both the seismic and UAV quirk on some other dedicated scout mechs. Like some of the locusts aren't really suited for combat, and this would give them at least a chance to participate in the game. And I like it a lot. I hope to see it more.
Same here.
Yeah, I'm curious. I haven't tried it out yet, but Raven 3L +1 UAV capacity as a base quirk. Does that mean you can take like 3 UAVs?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I
I
read it.
mean,
I haven't tried
yeah.
it. But,
My usual experience with the Raven, though, is of course, like, even if you're in 3L, Mister, don't charge forward and get killed by the enemy after you pop your first UAV. It's not worth it. So even if you're carrying 3, it doesn't actually matter if you die instantly.
all right, then that's kind of a quick summary of the October page. Again, if you want to see a full list of all the quirks available, go ahead and check out the links below. We're going to be linking to this post where you can see the full list of all the small and less small changes that have been made to mechs.
Yeah, it's if
Yep.
you're really interested in a particular mech and it's in this list, you should just check it out yourself. I think things like what was it, the Stalker? It's got 6 large lasers it can fire all at
Mhm.
once, or one variant. It doesn't have any other energy quirks, but it does. That is a lot of large lasers you can all fire at once. 54
Yep.
damage, pinpoint on an alpha, in a sphere mech. I mean, you could do that clan easy enough, but a slightly tanky in a sphere mech, yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Right, and then I believe we have one small last item with the MWO5 patch. Unless, Bob, you have anything to add for MechWarrior Online?
Meh. I'm good. I'm good, man.
Let's see. October 18th, there was a minor patch. Most important news in the beginning, none of the mods I've been playing with have broken from this patch. And according to Discord, no one has really experienced any issues with mods. So for the most part, you can just continue playing and it's going to be fine.
I had 2
Which is
mods
always
break on it though. It was the sound mod I was using and the animation for the to take out the animation for the jump ship. Those are 2 mods that got broken.
With the October 18th patch?
Yeah.
I have both of those and they work fine.
They weren't working when I was doing them, and I haven't actually checked them, checked them of late though. But they weren't working when when I was using them.
Well, in that case, all I can say is update the mods, and
Yeah.
I mean, they're fine on my side. Maybe we've had a different version installed, but yeah, for the most part, mods have been fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, October 18th, we got a very minor update. It's mostly just a couple of bug fixes. As with most of the MechWarrior 5 news, it's not a proper patch note or a changelog per se. It's just here are a few highlights of the update, which is a bit of a shame. I would like a full list of all the changes, to be honest, and I think the modders would also quite appreciate a full list of all the changes. But yeah, just a quick heads up, there was a MechWarrior 5 update, nothing significant changed, just a bunch of bug fixes. In my experience, some of the issues I've had with the new campaign and its maps have been not completely fixed, but made less significant, and I believe they also changed the rewards for the Kestrel Lenses campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Huzzah! Not just a single aim, yes, no ammo.
Yeah.
Yep, you will
That
now
can't be done
actually
anymore.
get some proper tier 5 Static era weapons with the rewards. No ammo for either of those, though. I think that's something Chris mentioned last week that they're looking into and will be addressing in a future hotfix.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, you can have 2 AMS and Artemis LMs and potentially don't have ammo for that. Nice.
Yes. I mean, that's why sometimes I go to the store and it says like a rare item and it's an SRM like 2 of Artemis. And I'm like, I know the weapon isn't actually useful, like a 2-ton SRM2, but the ammo,
Yep.
I'm picking that up. That's always going to be useful.
Same here. Whenever I find a special weapon, the weapons usually you can't afford anyway. Especially if they're marked as rare, they're usually like tier 4, tier 5 and cost 1 million upwards, which early to mid game you don't really want. And I mean, even late game, you get them from salvage. I've never really bought any of the high-end weapons. But yeah, ammo, always pick up the ammo when you can.
I had to pick up the Streak 2s and think. For me, I had plenty of money, so it's just, the Streak 2, I'll take that at some point. It'll be useful, maybe.
Yeah, I really like the streaks in MechWarrior 5. It's just,
I love them.
yeah, you need mods for the proper streaks.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're great for the freaking little fleas that like run around and little like locusts that I have a hard time shooting. And I just put a couple streaks on. I'm happy.
All right, then.
Okay.
And with that, we've been through all the topics, and we are finally back up to date on the First Circuit podcast.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which means next week we can actually go into something that's not catching up with the past.
Statistics.
Hopefully.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see how things pan out, of course. But yeah, that has been episode 158 of the First Circuit podcast with your usual three hosts, who you probably should know by now.
Yay!
Yay.
Bye.
Hey,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Meh.
Lark.